As the Modi government continues with its post-Article 370 reforms in Kashmir, a new chapter was added in the last cabinet when a decision was taken to change domicile rules with far-reaching impact. With us is Dr. Jitendra Singh, Minister in the Prime Minister's office, as also a senior leader from the Jammu and Kashmir to discuss these changes. Let's understand, Dr. Singh. Welcome. Would someone from Kerala be now able to buy land in Kashmir after these changes, or after having spent some years in Kashmir, get a permanent residency or a domicile certificate?
Yeah, certainly, Abhishek. I think this rule has been brought in keeping in keeping with the principles of equality, in keeping with the norms of a healthy democracy. It is, in fact, as I have said earlier, a miscarriage of history, a miscarriage of constitution which occurred 70 years ago, which was waiting to be corrected. And I am glad this anomaly stands corrected. And we are witness to this happening. Maybe it was God's will that somebody like Shri Narendra Modi should take over as the Prime Minister, and then this should happen. But having said that, as you rightly said, anybody from any part of the country who has spent a given number of years over there is entitled to be a domicile citizen of Jammu and Kashmir, as is the principle being followed in many other states of the country.
Let's get into specifics. You know, someone, for example, an IAS officer who has spent 30 years of service in Kashmir, an IPS officer, or any employee of the Jammu and Kashmir government who is not from Kashmir but has worked his or her professional life there, can they buy land there now after retirement and settle there?
Absolutely. Abhishek, I think it was not only unfair, it was inhuman. You expect an IAS officer or already a service officer to spend 30-35 years serving Jammu and Kashmir and spending the prime years of his life having put in with all the capability and the potentials at his command, and at the end of the day, when he gets superannuated at the age of 60 odd, you expect him to pack up and go wherever he wants. In fact, in some of the states of India, the norm being followed is that an IAS officer is actually provided with a plot of land at a discounted rate. So unless we make them comfortable, how would they be able to put in their best? And I think even worse is that their children can't seek education.
What about the children of these? What are the children of the employees of the Jammu and Kashmir government? Would they be allowed?
Absolutely. I was coming to that. I think that is even worse. An IAS officer or an All India Service officer or a PSU officer who's been there for the last 20-25 years, his child is born there, brought up there, educated there, but finally when he's out of school, he's not able to seek admission in a higher education institution. He was not eligible to apply for the job. So it was a horrific anomaly which had to be corrected, which was waiting to be corrected. And I'm glad that this has happened.
Let's broad base this. A Kashmiri woman or a woman from Jammu and Kashmir, if she marries someone from outside the Union Territory now, you think that she would be entitled to her domicile rights, which was not the case earlier before because of Article 370 and 35?
No, certainly so. And so awfully miserable was the practice of politics happening in this erstwhile state that I don't wish to name, but at least 2 or 3 chief ministers are there whose own daughters were deprived of the rights to property, but they had...
You can name them.
I think it's known to
we know the names.
Many of us, but nevertheless, for the purpose of carry on with the dynasty rule and to maintain that hegemony of politics which is happening in an atmosphere of vacuum, they were reconciled even to that. So not only that, see, there were so many central laws which were not applicable. For example, the Child Marriage Act. I don't know any part of the world, any country would have any objection to the application of Child Marriage Act. It was not applicable in Jammu and Kashmir. For what reason?
Are you saying after these recent changes, those laws would apply now?
Absolutely. All the central laws. Now, who would have objected to a Child Marriage Act? But for somebody who wishes to appease a certain section of society for a vote bank politics, the Dowry Act was not applicable. The right to information was applied in a truncated form, and the RTI could be filed only by the so-called state subject of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, anybody from any part of India can go and file, or even online file an RTI pertaining to a matter which is related to Jammu and Kashmir. So I think all this is opened up this is the beginning of a new era, and the realization would dawn after one generation has passed. And let me also make a very significant point over here. Those who are opposing us today, and I'm saying this with all the command at my, all the confidence at my command, those who are opposing us today if you do a survey of their children, in hearts of heart, their children would be comfortable with this law, and their children will bless us. The history will vindicate us in the years to come.
Let's get to the most touchy aspect of it. What about Kashmiri Pandits? The Kashmiri Pandits who were forced out of the valley in 1989. Can they come back now and legitimately claim their right as original citizens of the Union Territory?
Yes, not only they. I have been every day receiving dozens of video messages from Kashmiri Pandits settled in distant places as far as Australia, New Zealand. They are expressing their gratitude and delight and excitement. I think this has opened, and of course, the Pakistan refugees living in India for 70 years and not being given citizenship rights, when two of their from the same category, namely Dr. Manmohan Singh and Inder Kumar Gujral, went on to become Prime Minister of India. This lot was deprived of their rights simply because they chose to settle down in Jammu and Kashmir. So
while Manmohan Singh and Inder Kumar Gujral could become Prime Minister of India, had they settled in Jammu, they would not have been able to become the mayor of Jammu?
That is the tailpiece over here. Fortunately for them, both of them did not choose to settle down in Jammu and Kashmir, in spite of the fact that Dr. Manmohan Singh belonged to district Jhelum, and Inder Kumar Gujral also. They were actually, their native places were closer to Jammu than maybe Delhi or other places. And if they had committed that blunder over there, then the destiny would have deprived them of becoming prime ministers.
Right. I understand. So I believe a lot of good changes finally happening, and the real benefits and effects of scrapping of Article 370 finally coming up. Dr. Singh, I have to ask one more question. You know, on the political front, the changes that are happening, I can't see a pattern. I mean, can you explain, for example, you let Farooq Abdullah and Umar Abdullah come out, but then you don't want Sajad Lone and Shah Faisal to come out. What is the logic behind that?
I think that's not anything to do with this domicile change, but nevertheless, that is a call which is to be taken by the security agencies, by the Home Ministry, because they are privy to inputs that they receive from minute to minute, which you and I may not be privy to that. But certainly, a call would be taken by them at an appropriate time. But having said that, let me also say that some of those Kashmir-centric leaders who are crying hoarse about the demographic change the so-called demographic change likely to happen as a consequence of this domicile act or a domicile law, are in fact exposing themselves to the accusation that they were thriving, their politics was thriving on a particular demography to which they were maintaining their hegemony. And now that it's opened up, now the vacuum is opened up, they are actually apprehensive of their political innings being threatened.
So are they scared of about demographic change, or are they scared actually about national integration, which is a natural corollary to the changes that have been
made? You are right. National integration, and more than that, they are afraid of their vote bank getting diluted, because when others also get the voter rights, they had created a pattern.
Fact, I would say what is wrong if the demographics change and any national of India, since the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir is integral part of India, wants to settle there? What is wrong even if the demographics change?
Absolutely. Not only that, I'll go one step further to say that not only those who go and settle there and then become voters, even those who are already settled there for 70 years, namely these West Pakistan refugees, they were deprived of their voter rights because they wanted to thrive on a pattern which confined the voter rights to a small section of people so that they could carry on from generation to generation.
Very good. I mean, am I right in interpreting, Dr. Singh, that while a Kashmiri citizen, someone living in a Kashmiri basically, if that person settles in UP or Bihar or Karnataka or Kerala, can get a voting right, but if anyone from the rest of India goes and settles in Kashmir, voting right is not provided, but perhaps now it would be?
And not only that, what I am trying to say is that even those who had already settled there, had been living there since independence, were not allowed to vote by a design just to keep them away from that vote bank which had been very strategically cultivated to cater to a handful of people.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Singh. I believe this is not a debate about demographic change. It is about national integration, which is finally happening in Kashmir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abhishek.